Good afternoon, everybody, all attendees who we can't see in this virtual webinar, but I promise you that we've got a very, very interesting panel discussion ahead of us because we've got a stellar panel in terms of the sheer diversity that these set of speakers bring to this discussion today. So I would welcome everybody, Arun Naikar from Fab India, from the apparel space, Arun Jayaraman, from Big Basket. Arun, can I see you?
Yeah, can you hear me, Shubji?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not sure if you can
Okay.
see my video though.
So he represents Big Basket, the grocery segment. We have Vikram from the F&B segment, F&B retail, QSR. Shishir Gupta representing the PN, the premium apparel segment. We have Naveen Joshua, who solves retailers' problems by providing them e-commerce solutions. We have Ramneek representing Lenskart, the optics or the optical chain, and we have Kumar from Bata India, the footwear segment. So it's an amazing set of people that we have. I will open the session probably with the apparel retailers first, going to footwear and then going to other segments. So Arun, you would be in the spot with the first question. Arun, so during the lockdown, I think it's been very frustrating for most of us, while we've been sitting at home, twiddling our thumbs and thinking what will happen to the business. Uh, how did Fab India as a brand engage with customers during the lockdown when, let's say, the stores were closed, e-commerce, because apparel is not an essential category, that was closed? How did you engage with customers?
Well, just to make a small correction there, while we are not a pure play apparel brand, we do sell from apparel home to organic foods and health and beauty as well. So if you talk about specifically the messaging, we actually stopped selling. We largely, even if you look at our social space during the lockdown period, was largely about health, be safe, stay safe. It was all about goodness and well-being. Our entire focus for the month of, I would say, end of March and till mid of April was largely about how to stay safe and what all can we do to stay safe and be healthy. So largely what we did also was we also, I would say, spoke a lot about what health is about. We brought a lot of people. Even today, if you look at, yesterday we had a session with some yoga experts on our social channels, and that's the way we looked at it. So it was all about goodness, messaging, positivity, talk well. Let's not talk about that. We are locked down completely. We actually avoided using the word lockdown completely in our social messaging. So it's all about positivity, I would say. We did less of selling, and we know customers, whoever wanted to buy whatever, our online channel was available, while deliveries were not there, but still we let them come and buy online. So that was, anyway, it was open. So we did everything that we could do on the digital space in terms of spreading positivity and keeping people happy.
Sure.
That was the message.
Sure. I'll come to Shishir, jumping to another premium apparel retailer. Your positioning is slightly different because you cater to special occasions primarily, as well as of course, cater to the most latest designs. So, with the changing social norms, when wherein we see people probably not having those wedding engagements in the near term, or even if they have, it's a very close knit family affair, rather than the extravagant events that we used to have. How do you see your business, changing or shifting? How do you see the engagement to customers shifting during this time?
So we did a couple of webinars with our customers to find out, what the problems are, where they're facing an issue. So we did some webinars where we did, how do you convert your big fat wedding into a skinny wedding? And we were surprised that so many people wanted to marry, but they were not sure how they should get married and things, right? So we connected those people together, and we figured that there are a lot of people who are still ready to marry, right? We think that nobody wants to get married right now. But there are still a lot of people who still want to get married and they have their prior commitments and things. So we were surprised that we got so many orders as well. So we, as other retailers or online websites, we were taking orders, and we were surprised ourselves when we got so many orders from all over the country. Very few retailers in our occasion were are online, and I guess that helped us get the sales from these small weddings. They were not the big weddings which usually happen. They are like 50 people, but the bride always wants to wear something special, right? They don't want to compromise or something. So that helped us, and being online also helped us. So we are getting good numbers now based on what we used to get. So it's not affected our business as such because we have got new audience now who wants to buy online. We used to buy on offline maybe earlier, but now they're buying online.
We have seen that shift happening from customers who preferred offline to online during this time. Excellent. Excellent. I'll come to Kumar, related category footwear. So apparel and footwear typically go together because some of it is fashion, and some of it is sport. So overall, from the footwear standpoint, look at it from an industry perspective, Kumar, not just Bata. And the social norm that I see here is we are not stepping out as much. We're not moving out. We're not probably using or wearing our shoes as much as we used to. Okay, and therefore the need for new shoes is possibly going down. And I would be happy to be challenged on that. How do you see the footwear segment responding to this?
Am I audible? Yeah. So you're right. The consumption has, changed post this pandemic and the post-lockdown scenario. We've seen big trends, shifts in the consumption. People are sitting at home. People aren't going out. So there's a big jump in open and comfortable categories. The good thing is, this of course from an industry perspective, but from a Bata perspective, comfort is an area where we're pretty strong at. But yeah, I mean, we've seen a huge shift towards sandals, flip-flops. We're also seeing some increased traction in power as people are working out from home. A lot of you would have caught up right in the early days of the lockdown that across the world, fitness was, or gym equipment was actually the second highest growing category on the digital platform. And we see some similar trends post-lockdown as well, where sports-related footwear continue to do well. We are seeing the same trends in stores, and this is these are also the early trends that we've seen across our marketplace operations across various partners. In the stores, the consumer is coming in a very with a very focused mindset. He knows what he wants to buy. It's a need-based purchase. So yes, fashion has taken a backseat to a certain extent. And I think that things are going to change as dining and restaurants and all these things open up. Those categories will see traction again. The big festive period is around the corner. Hopefully everything, will be good or moving back to normal by then. So we do believe those trends will come back. Numbers will be very different than what they used to be. But so far, I think the open and comfort is where the big numbers are going to be.
Excellent. Excellent, Kumar. I'll jump on to Arun Jayaraman. And Arun represents the grocery segment, Big Basket. Arun I believe you had a very, very unique problem because everybody wanted to shop from Big Basket when the lockdown happened. Everybody wanted the grocery to be shipped to the home, given that you can't step out. Kiranas opened up gradually, but initially there was a lot of uncertainty. People started holding up. And you had the platform to deliver it. But because of the governance, you had to stop supplies, etc. Right? So what was the feeling as a marketer? When you right the business opportunity sitting there and not able to do it, how does the marketer respond?
Yeah, so Shubhajit, I think you're right in the sense where contrary to most companies, I think we went through a phase where we couldn't sort of keep up with demand, right, for like 2 to 3 months. I think we faced a lot of issues. Primarily because we are a inventory led model, so our capacity is finite and we can only deliver X number of orders, and no one planned for such an uptake for one, online shopping, and two, primarily online grocery. Because earlier, grocery was seen more as a, sort of a niche and not as much mainstream as, consumer durables e-commerce or apparel e-commerce before, right? And then people, thronging to Big Basket was a problem. I think, most of our issues were, predominantly operations led. I think also, the other things that we did, say, for example, tying up with, I think you guys have heard of all this before, right? Tying up with Uber or Ola or, restaurant and all that, just to sort of make sure that we are geared up to service the excess demand. In terms of marketing, I think the biggest learning that we had, because marketing didn't have a lot of role to play, because obviously you couldn't go promote on paid or digital or whatever. So I think the biggest learning was being true and honest. I think our job as a team was to be the interface between the backend ops and sort of relay that information to our customers. Right. For example, on certain days, we actually put up the actual number of orders on the website, like a ticker saying, okay, we are trying our best. We've delivered around 3.5 lakh orders a day. And last week, same time, we delivered around 2.5 lakh orders. So, we are growing. Right. Second thing is, our Twitter and our social channels were primarily, geared up for grievance redressal, right? So we had to, our teams were completely geared up, working 24/7 a day, and just to sort of answer questions that came our way. And third is, I think one more good thing that we did, just to sort of continue on the clarity or being honest and or transparent in our communication, was the tweet that Hari Menon did, right? I think we put up a tweet that went viral, giving customers a sense of the problems we are facing and how we are trying our best to sort of address the solutions. I think it was more inward looking as a marketing team, and we sort of got a sense of the business, how it operates, how our operations operate, what is the B&M process, GRN, how do we do planning, planogram, picking, packing. So all that the entire marketing team had to learn so that we make sure we communicate the right thing to our customer. I think that was one of the biggest learnings that, we sort of had this time.
I'll come to Vikram. Vikram runs the Yellow Straw, which is a juice retail QSR, primarily based in Calcutta and in some other places. Vikram, how have you seen the customer preferences actually changing? And now that you would have restarted operations, how has it changed on the menu per se? Are people buying the same stuff pre-COVID? Has preferences shifted? How do you see it?
What we have realized in just last 5 to 7 days, that people are now more stinted towards their health kind of drinks. So earlier it was more of a single fruit-based kind of drinks, which people don't want to take any kind of chances. They were quite okay with watermelon or the Mossambi kind of juices. But now what they want is more, the immunity-based, detox-based. So now most of the customers are very much familiar with these kind of terms. What's your detox kind of combinations? I would like to have, more detox. So what are the different variations? So we are very happy with these kind of changes coming into the. So in Calcutta, what we have learned that what we have done during the COVID, so we have shifted to the more from the comfort to the necessities. So we were, instead of juices, we shifted to the fruits. Now in last 10 to 15 days, we have come back to our main core business, which is juice and shakes. So now people, what we have seen, they are more focused towards the health kind of things. So detox and immunity are one of the most catching words what we are seeing in this entire zone at this point of time.
And Vikram, just to can you quantify that shift to some extent? Just help us understand as a group that what is that quantum of shift therefore?
So recently, what we are seeing, few of the stores are now also seeing some walk-ins as well. So people who are going to office and for the change they want to go out, going out is now one of their biggest achievement. What we are seeing, the kind of smile we can see on our customers' faces when they are having the drink is one of the most satisfying things for us also as well. So any customers who's coming walking in, they would like to check the menu as well, and they would like to stick to that only. On the online front, what we are seeing, the biggest is now shifting towards the more of the mixed kind of juices, where they can see these are the most prominent things what we have realized. And this is where I think going forward also we would like to capitalize on these things only. So the detox juice, internationally now, earlier people were not so familiar about the ABC, but to my surprise, we go to our stores to interact with our customers. Many of our customers want ABC, and we have a different name in our outlet. So when they see that we have ABC, they're no more keen towards ABC kind of juice. So this is what we are learning this
Sure.
age.
I'll come to Ramneek from Lenskart. And Ramneek, typically an optical chain, it involves a more involved purchase, so people typically want to go try, wear, maybe test with the optometrist in the store and then buy the product. So how has the journey been since lockdown, unlock? How are you seeing it?
So Subhajit, for us, as you know, we started at Lenskart as purely online player, and we moved into brick and mortar to solve key consumer problems of trial and fit. 5 years hence, and the key questions or the key problems that consumers still face while buying eyewear online is A, will it fit me on my face, and B, how it will look on my face. So what we did is after the lockdown started around March 22, we all our engineering teams got together and we fairly quickly took out two tools for our users. One is a very simple one where you take a selfie and it gives you the catalog which will fit your face exactly right, because we use the technology to find out the width of your face and shape of your face. The other one is along with Apple, we have developed an augmented reality tool where as soon as you give your camera access, the glasses start popping on your face and you can quickly swipe through them and see how it looks on your face. So those have really helped us in bringing on board a lot of customers and get over that innovation of buying eyewear online for the first time.
So this is like real agile, innovative development, looking at the scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone got behind it because everyone had that sense of urgency, and I mean it was real, right? It is around us. So it was very easy for teams to get behind this very easily now.
And just a short follow-up question, if you could answer briefly, is the typical challenge here always is the retailer always comes up with innovative solutions. The customer adoption is a challenge. How many customers really tried that new stuff during that time? What is your sense?
Yeah, so in our case, more than 1/3 of people who come to our app try that out, and over 1 million people in a month try that in our app on monthly basis.
Excellent, excellent. I'll now come to Naveen, and Naveen enables retailers with e-commerce solutions. So Naveen, tell us about your journey through this 3-4 months. There would be a lot of customers who you were already enabling, and therefore maybe they started to see more traffic on the online channel because of the situation. There would have been maybe more physical retailers who started reaching out to you to say that I also need an online channel now. So how has this panned out for you? Naveen, you're on mute.
Thanks for that question. I heard you fine, Subhajit. So yes, barring none, I think category-wise, any and every category has now. It's not even a decision of when and if and how. There is a.
Naveen, can you be a little louder, Naveen?
Yeah. Is this any better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that there's a mad rush, I'd be honest, with retailers to try and get their e-commerce enablement to a readiness stage. Some were at nascent stages, but clearly, as the previous panelists had talked about, getting the inventory in place, online enabled through all the omni-channel and OMS specialists is a key. But then I would also think that what a lot of retailers wanted was really the path to sales and the path to growth, because a large part of their offline business obviously was badly hampered without that physical capabilities. So channelizing that inventory towards a path of sale, where the front end, where omni-channel is really a journey, and if many retailers have not even embarked on that journey, was there anything that was agile or quick enough? What best practices worked, like our co-participants here, even Vinculum and Find, we work closely with them to enable such solutions. Clients like we talked about a few use cases earlier, Liberty Shoes, V2 Retail. So all of them are fairly traditional brands where they had a particular mindset or persona of who their customer was through generations. I think during this period, a very, very quick shift in that, and also trying to repurpose and see the change in the product buckets. I think Kumar Sambhu was also talking about a different product bucket in terms of, open, we do very interesting categories in even premium apparel as well as kids wear. So, even kids and baby segments have really boomed during this period. I think the purchase intent of the consumer is very high for whoever is coming in. The cost of acquisitions, as driven largely by digital, publishers like your Facebook, Google, Instagram, etc., has actually gone down by a lot, which is where the return on ad spend and the conversions are ending up being much higher. So it's becoming a totally different dynamic that is still settling down, where although the traffic levels may not be that high, but the conversion levels in business have been good. So we are seeing a lot of those changes across segments as brands are looking to, repurpose their ad spends towards the consumer online.
Okay. I think, shopping shopping as a science has been studied for a number of years. There's a lot of research behind it. And I think the fundamental that I would take out of it is typically customers often, and the whole retail experience is about that they don't know what they want. When they go and start seeing, then they start, creating affinity towards certain products, categories, and they pick it up because they like it, Now, one shift that I think, has certainly happened during this time is customers exactly know what they want, from where they want, at what price they want, and when do they want it. And they typically go to that platform, that brand, that channel to pick it up at that point in time. And that's an observation that I have had over the last few weeks. But I'll come to some of you, so Arun, both the Aruns, Ramneek, Kumar, all of you guys run a very matured customer program. Most of, I am a member of most of your programs, and therefore all of you have tried to, leverage the data insights during this time to target better, to communicate better, and to, overall, engage better. So could you give some examples, real life examples, which we will remember, beyond this session, as stories? If you could share one or two really high impact stories that, will stay with us. Any of you, it's open. Yeah.
Frankly, for the past 3 months, zero money spent on Google and Facebook.
Okay.
Our businesses are 130% of the way it was online. Certain categories are doing 5x. So just reiterating the fact, what you said, customers exactly know what they want. So primarily our messaging relied, to email and SMSs. And we could see a lot of churn. So we were just about 10-15% overlap of, customers who buy online and offline both, if you look at the entire base. Well, we had a good amount of churn. I would say if online business was just about 7-8%, that the number of customers who moved in added up to almost 40% plus to the base that we already had online. So it was a 40% jump in terms of overlapping customers from offline to the online space. That is the kind of jump we could see.
Right.
I would say the benefit of being a multi-category retailer is that you can switch on and switch off and customize your, messaging to the core. Like certain customers who buy only organic foods, we obviously communicate more with them. Certain customers who only buy apparel, obviously, you also touch upon a little bit of organic foods with them, but there's no point in pushing them too hard. So we actually did stop selling, but yes, there were subtle messages on, you can also shop online and you will get the desired service that you expect from a brand like, Fabindia. Whatever we do best in the store, how well can we replicate that in the online space as well, is exactly what we're looking at. And that's what was the big change for us. While it's not that we will continue doing that, now we will go back again because, this year we have a much larger attempt to move in a good amount of base to our online space. And, I would say our app downloads went up to a large extent because people were literally calling up store managers and asking them, how do we get the stuff delivered? So it
Right.
was a extremely, I would say, cohesive effort. I mean, I can talk about store managers sitting in Jalandhar to Cochin, where they have actually pushed customers to come and buy online.
Any other example?
Just adding to what Arun just said.
Small bit
Yeah.
here is that typically, I mean, if you look at the offline and the online businesses, they are traditionally, I would say, there's a tendency of becoming rivals. Customers will go online. Is the concern that the store manager sitting down in a store would think about, while the online guy who's pushing marketing would basically ask the customer to come and shop online. Somewhere there is a bit of a competition there, but typically customers end up doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
But here you had a time when there was no channel available. The only channel available was online. And frankly, the store guys completely understood that. And this was one time when there was no effort required to get teams together.
Right. Ramneek,
Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Arun was saying. We saw very similar behavior and we tried to, build on top of it using technology. So what we did is 3 days after the lockdown started, we, because our store guys were also stuck at their homes in different places, what we did is we launched an app for them, which gave them the list of consumers who have bought from them and who are looking to buy again. And there was, they couldn't see their contact, etc. But using cloud telephony, they can click to call that customer. They were able to connect with those customers, and then further we all gave them the ability to be able to see consumers screen on their screen and help them in placing the order. So they handheld the customers who are coming online for the first time and quickly make them aware of how to purchase online for the first time, for maybe some user segments who were doing it for the first time. So we saw a lot of synergies over there, and we got a lot of people coming back and buying in times of need via this method.
Sure. So I'll
Shivajit, I would quickly come in. Yeah, thanks. So see, similar stories at our end as well. One good thing that we saw is the conversion on our site went up without considerable investments. Consumers who were coming in, they knew what they wanted to buy. Big shifts in the categories, but a very happy, very happy scenario to be in. We started our omni-channel or a F2A from anywhere to anywhere journey, as we call it in Bata, a couple of years ago. We've got these operations in 1,000+ stores as we talk now, and we're expanding. And we have the ability to book orders from stores. We have the ability to ship from our stores. And just on the book orders from our store, and that's one matrix we look at very closely, because eventually it's the percentage of sale or the percentage contribution, how you're improving productivity in the stores that eventually matters, right? Without sharing numbers, I can say that it's multiple times over of what we were doing last year per day per store. What has that helped internally is the store managers are now excited and happy serving customers across the spectrum for Bata. A store manager in our ecosystem thinks is more like someone who owns the catchment. And if he sees that I've got an online consumer in my catchment, he is as much as my consumer because I'm actually Bata's representative in this area, right? And that shift, it's change management that's happened over the last 2 years, and this has somehow triggered a switch. I would call it in our staff's mentality, where they think that, listen, eventually it's the brand's customer. In these times, either ways, we need to reach out to the customer and help him. We are using tools like the WhatsApp chat shop. We are booking orders in the stores. We're doing it online. And eventually we're using more and more of our store network to deliver. And we've seen some very positive trends going that way. And the biggest one I would call out, which is where I think everyone would be making a lot of effort, is the change in mindset of that staff in the store. How happy he is to ship that product, which otherwise he thinks that it's his probability of sale, right? And that's the biggest shift that we see happening post.
I'd like to add. So basically, what we saw is we had a lot of data of customers who had come to our store in February, March, and they had weddings in April, May, June. So we contacted those customers, and once we got the opportunity to open our stores, we started doing video calls to those customers. And we got amazing response from those stores where we were able to video call the customer. We were showing the products on the video call, and we were able to ship it through the store. So I don't know if the sale happened online or offline because the customer was in their store, in their homes, and they were buying from our store, and that was incredible. And as Kumar rightly said, the store staff was suddenly selling to the online customer, and they also didn't know if they were selling it online or offline. It was incredible.
Absolutely. I think you almost snatched away the next question that I had, which was around the customer journey. And I think a lot of retailers have resorted to some of these new innovative ways to almost bring the customer virtually into the store, and that's very encouraging. I have one specific question for you, Shishir, maybe, and even Arun. I know that you both of you guys export significantly. You know, your business has significant exports. How have you seen exports getting impacted? Because be it Fab India, where it's very ethnic products, and your case where it's craftsmanship. Really, every product is a craftsman's product.
Mhm.
How have you seen exports getting impacted?
Well, to my surprise, our international business, there has been no change at all. I would say during March end, we saw a blip, I would say, for the first 10 days. Here and there, we had, I would say, a downturn. But starting April second week, it's absolutely normal. And we shipped to about 130 countries from our site. And frankly, there's no change at all.
So for us, we get a lot of NRIs who come to our store to do their wedding shopping. So we are expecting that a lot of these customers will now be doing video call, and and the video quality is amazing now because of Zoom and faster internet now available in India and better cameras. We are expecting that a lot of these customers who used to come to India to shop will be shopping through video calls.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll be exporting from our courier partners.
So I think what has been good through the discussion so far is we've understood from each of you some aspects of new tech which has got deployed very sensitively to solve a customer problem given the situation. That has really helped sales. Uh, I would probably come to Naveen and ask him one question. During this pandemic, Kiranas also really stood up. As the storefront, associates really stood up to deliver for the brand. I think the Kiranas also stood up for the consumers all through. And whether it's Kiranas or whether it's small chain retailers, so they may be semi-organized. They may have 8 stores, 10 stores, in a city. What's the kind of solution that you think is a killer for such retailers to enable them further with online capabilities?
So I think, am I audible, Subhajit? Yeah. So I think just taking it ahead from what Arun and Kumar Sambhu was talking about, I think it has been very heartening to see that loyalty in its true concept really was something that touched a chord in the last mile. I think the Kiranas were also the extended part of the COVID warriors through this time frame, working tirelessly. Very similar to how store managers started, earlier. Probably there was some sluggishness, probably a year or two earlier, when brands were trying to get store staff, a little more akin to omni-channel of sales. But that entire mindset change in the last couple of months has just been so heartening. Any concept of loyalty was truly found in that last mile, where hyper local became really much more useful. And I think even logistics players came to the fore, where the pin code serviceabilities went up dramatically, which is extremely appreciable for all businesses and business heads on this call. I do believe that that itself gave a reverse learning to even the localized mom and pop shops or kiranas, where they got a lot of confidence in their models and have actually asked for a lot more hyper local business setups. So we also, during these 3 months, we've had tech teams. We do call them work from home warriors as well at our end. Who were putting together product for hyper local. We called it Cartexo. That really was meant for localized players and gave them a fully integrated solution of last mile logistics, so that they could still continue to focus on their core and deliver to customers. So we've seen that as a fairly interesting model, which is also quite marketable, because now the entire logic of when users come to the site, what do they search? We talked about high intent. There is a lot more data in terms of in-page and on-site analytics. I do believe that all of us on the panel here are, and obviously Lenskart's probably a leader in that already. We're talking about AI and personalization. Now, even in categories that are standard categories, I think there will be a lot more personalization going in, because remarketing is going to be much more powerful in times to come.
Right. Coming to some of the retailers here who have large even centers, so Bata has it, Fab India has it, Lenskart, there are certain flagship stores which are really meant to show the entire assortment. Shishir, I think every, the physical infrastructure that you earlier had when you started, and, if you still want to showcase your products, there was a whole element of designing the in-store experience and the journey. Now, what is your thought process of leveraging this experience store in a new way? Because the same set of walk-ins may not happen. People may not want to dwell for so long in the store as well, because people are much more sharper. They know exactly what they want. They want to come and pick it up and go. So the dwell time in the store, I see coming down, at least in the near future, right? So those of you who have these experience centers, they were meant for something. How do you see them getting repurposed? And anybody?
So the same thing is happening for us, right? So this video call thing that we are doing, we are seeing a lot of customers, even from Bombay, they want to come offline and buy, but first they do the online video call, they figure out what they want to buy. They just come to the store, see it, and they buy it, right? So it suddenly changed the game, and these stores of ours are more become like pickup points, and just people are able to see it and then buy it. So that's how I think these online offline is going to change going forward, where people might just do their shopping offline and then come to the store online and then come to the store and pick up.
So in our case, a consumer right at the start of their journey is able to go online and see the inventory which is present in their nearby store, exactly the pieces which are there, and browse through them, make a selection before coming into the store. And we have had a store locator on our app for probably 3 years plus, but now it is much more used, and people use it to browse the inventory and then book an appointment beforehand, so that when they come they can quickly directly go to the inventory that they liked, make a quick purchase and move out. So that is how we are seeing our journey being transformed at this time.
In our case also, see, right in the middle of the lockdown, we reached out to some of our customers. We asked them how would they, how do they see themselves buying in today's time. So almost 70% or more than 70% still said that their preferred way of transacting would be in a store. No surprises there. As a retail brand, we've got a fairly large number of we've got a large number of stores. And what we are seeing, to what Ramneek also mentioned, people are coming into the store with a very specific product or a need that they want to satisfy in their mind. They come, they spend much lesser time in the store. They make their purchase and they move out. However, I think going forward, experiences that they get in the store will be very critical. Should they be able to book an appointment in the store using the website for consumers who still want to buy in store and want to be careful of how many people will be in the store at the time they walk in? Things like those might come in handy. We do have some specialized services that we give from our stores. We, for example, pedicures, therapeutic and medicated pedicures. Those might not be the biggest services at this point of time, but eventually a brand that gives an overall holistic service through its touch points is anyways going to engage the customer much better. So I think that just might be a blip of a sort, and eventually the relevance of all these experiences in stores are important, and consumers will look forward to them.
Sure. I'll come to
So
Vikram.
what we have done, yeah. So what we have done during this time, suppose now there are 4 to 5 customers who want to come to our outlet. So they are in their car only. One of them come and they give the order for the entire group. At the same time, what we have done for most of our outlets where we have sitting arrangement is there, we have cut our sitting arrangement by almost by half, and we have used more as a display. So anyone who will come in, so they we would like to give them first-hand experience what is there, if we have added anything new, so that the visibility factor is now much more important. So as rightly said by you, there will be very less time. No one would like to give their more than 5 to 10 minutes in our outlet. So they just want to order and they want to move out. So we would like to capture those times where we can display our units or display our new products category very well to them.
Vikram, one specific question to you, since you are the only one representing F&B per se here. Any specific safety measures that you're taking for your sit-outs, your sit-out facilities? So how has the facility itself changed, the sitting arrangements? Is there any measures that you're taking there?
If you ask me, entire F&B industry has gone through a lot of changes with respect to the safety and entire measures. So be it sanitization, be it masks, be it gloves, be it the sitting arrangement. So earlier, not only with respect to others who used to have 30 to 40 plus kind of sitters, they have almost cut down to half. So that is where our biggest challenge is also. So with respect to sanitization, after every customers who moves out, we try to sanitize it, the sitting arrangements, as well as when it comes to we are coming out with the contactless menu as well. So the customers as well as the safety is, we are very much concerned. So so that they are very well covered with respect to mask and everything like that.
Sure. I'll ask one more question now, open for everybody. Do some of you see that you've most particularly say Fab India, Bata has huge number of stores across the country, Lenskart too. Do you see some of these stores becoming dark stores? Do you see some of these stores becoming partially dark stores to just cater to the switch in the channel preference of the customer?
Can I jump on this one, please?
Sure.
Quite a few stores that we are using to ship right now. Stores were designed for a specific purpose. Yes, stores are being used as warehouses or shipment points right now, but that requires some bit of recalibration back in the stockroom training and tech as well. There is always going to be, in my view, knowing a little, not so much about omnichannel and all, still early days. There are going to be limits of what you can do out of your store and what you can do out of your DC. Each has its own purpose. I think the bigger purpose that from an omnichannel perspective, in addition to shipment that the stores provide, are experience to customer from a retail perspective. The whole retail experience now has a third dimension that is coming in from the digital space. The whole impact of digital on retail. And it's not just the customer coming in a little more informed, right? How much time do you take to service the customer? What kind of tools do you use to serve the customer faster, more accurately? For example, in today's time, if a customer was to walk into any of our retail stores and we were to say, sorry, the size is not available, it's a crime, I think. The customer is really taking all the pains, and coming out of his, fighting his fears and coming into the retail store. One is that. And second is, why just dark stores? And I'm going to throw that question back. So since stores have a purpose, they're in an area where customers, in a catchment where customers are going to walk in, right? So the share of shipment could go up to help the customers, to help the store staff address that demand. People like us who sit in the HOs, not so much in the stores, need to understand their issues in the stores. So not just the problems that we're solving for the customer, the problem that we need to solve for our staff, right? Shipping these products out or addressing these omni-channel customers in future. Loyalty history, order history. My store manager today, might not really bother about order history, but think about it 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, the customer actually might walk up to him and say that, listen, I bought this online, right? And I need to provide him that information. So more than just a dark store, I think store becomes more of an experience center for retail plus omni, and we need to equip the staff and train the staff in the store to help that, and also improve their shipment ratio. Eventually a dark store, if we want to do something like that, we'll do it in an area where the rentals are lesser and we have no footfalls.
Right.
I'll add a bit to that. While, I would say Kumar addressed the problem very specifically to the business that Bata is into. We have a slightly different problem to solve. We're a multi-category brand. If you look at the apparel business of ours, we have a huge range and very small depth. And having said that, for us, it's a combination of warehouses plus stores. So 80% of our online business gets served from stores. And pre-COVID, we already had about 120 stores shipping for us. But then if you look at categories like organic foods and personal care, they go from a warehouse. If you look at products like, categories like furniture and home, they go from a warehouse. So we had a perfect setup to address this challenge. So what used to happen is, like, during the lockdown, we had certain stores open, certain stores getting closed. We could actually shift the orders from stores from A to B. And our teams are working almost like, 18, 20 hours a day to ensure that the customers actually, when the shipment opened, we ensured we can ship as much as possible in the first 10 days itself. So the setup for us really helped. Technology and the backend for this kind of situation was perfect for us.
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
Thanks, Arun. Bhavesh, I'll just come to you. Are we out of time, or can I just ask a last question?
Yeah, we have 3 minutes to go, Shubhajit, so we can conclude it as a...
Okay. Any questions that we want to take up from the audience? Do you want to play any question that has been posted?
No, I think these are all generic questions. So
okay. So
I took liberty of replying in the chat itself. So I think
sure. So I have one last question for all the panelists, and anybody and in any order can answer. I think digitalization and equipping the store staff, the front line, with the right tools is become more important than ever before right now. While even in the last 2-3 years, we have seen retailers as part of their omnichannel program, they have tried to equip a store associate with all insights when a customer walks in. The basic problem was, how do you identify the specific customer, and then obviously you could get down to his transactions, his preferences, etc. And the loyalty program kind of triangulated to provide some of that data. Now, this has become extremely important, I think, in the days to come. Any thoughts on how you would do this very rapidly? Because this is, while it sounds simple, it's very difficult to implement and get store staff to really appreciate that amount of data coming, look at that data, engage with the customer on the, in front of them, and deliver that experience. So how would you do this very rapidly in an agile way?
Well, I would just quickly add one small point. The way I see this happening is that, A, you have an existing set of customers, especially for a brand like ours. The store associates have a very close connect with a very good set of customers, I would say. They have been shopping for the past sometimes 30, 40 years also. There are people who I've met who say that, I have been shopping from Fabindia for the past 40 years. The stores obviously have to be enabled, be it be video commerce, be it be social commerce. While it has to be extremely localized, it also has to be personalized for the customers. Be it be WhatsApp, be it be your social media pages. I think it's extremely important to build and train the store associates to sell digitally. The earlier challenge that we had, I would say about 2 years back or 3 years back, training the stores on the endless aisle piece was the biggest challenge. I think now a large number of associates, they have been associated and they understand how this works and they are keen to take it up. I think the next level has to be, how do you sell online sitting in the stores? While whether the stores will be relevant, not relevant, will large stores vanish? That is something which time will tell. I don't think we are right now in a situation wherein we can predict that at least, but it's going to take at least a year from now to even figure out what should be the strategy. But going digital, enabling the store staff to sell, digitally is extremely important. So use tools like WhatsApp, use tools like Facebook Live, Insta Live, everything, and be very, very localized. I don't think the relevance of the store will any which place go.
Right. Any last comments from any speakers? Okay.
I would just quickly say that, this is a leaf that I picked out of retail essentially. And your question was, how do you get the staff ready, right? There is a time to plan and there's a time to act, right? We know we've been training these guys on product. We've been training these guys on, how to speak to the customers, etc. Right? Just throw everything at it, right? Make your manuals, use digital platforms, do your certifications, do as much, talk about these things as much as possible across the organization. So I think the biggest benefit that me and my team gets post a scenario like this is that everyone in the organization is pushing us and lending us a helping hand, in trying to do things which earlier were part of the to-do, but the priority is now so much higher, right? It puts us in a lot of, positive pressure because now we have the time and resources of everyone around across the board. And I think one thing that I learned after speaking to a lot of sales staff and store managers, they're fairly enterprising. They do understand the importance of all these things. Go down to them, help them understand, and they get it. These are not concepts that they're not that they don't understand or are totally oblivious to.
Right. Something that we have done in our store is we have explained that this is the new normal, right? This is how we are going to communicate. And that's what we had to train them. And we explained them that this online and offline is nothing different. It's the same retail. It's still retail, but it's just happening digitally. That's all. Right. And that's when they try to understand. So even the video call, all the billing, we do it in store so that they feel that the bill is actually created in store, not online, right? So I think that's just the feeling that we have to give them, that it's not changing that much, right? And this is what you have to learn and move forward with.
Correct. See, to close the session, I think we are a little over time. So I will try to put the closing statement now and hand over to Bhavesh after this. I think to me, the vision is you have customers virtually dispersed. You might also have your store staff, the real guys who sell, who sell to customers, maybe virtually dispersed. You have the store, warehouse, infra in between with limited number of resources to do the essentials, and your business should still go on. And if this is achieved by retailers, I think retailers have no reason to worry about lockdown, shutdowns, malls not operating, anything that this pandemic may throw upon us as an industry. That's my vision, of really making, disintermediating COVID-19 and really operating business as usual. That's my closing statement. Thanks a lot to all the panelists. I think it was a very, very invigorating discussion. I hope the participants enjoyed. Over to you, Bhavesh.
Yeah. Thanks, Subhajit, and thanks, Kumar, Shishir, Arun, Naveen, and the other panelists, Naveen, Arun, Jayaraman, Ramnik, Vikram. It's been a fascinating discussion the entire day. Thank you all the attendees who have attended. Our partners, Find, Green Honchos, and Vinculum. Thank you all, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bhavesh. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.